This is a video I've been wanting to release for quite some time, but I don't release videos for reviews until after I played the game to its fullest extent. This game made that really, really difficult to do. So, without any further ado, I give you my review of Fallout 3. As usual, I'm going to talk about what was good about the game versus what was bad about the game. What was good about this game was everything was stylized in the 1950s. The culture was thrown back to be as thus, and the technology of the video game was thrown way into the future, but kept in the 1950s style. On top of that, the gameplay was addicting, and it had a dark humor element to the whole thing. They even had a weapon which was basically a catapult for a small miniature nuclear bomb, and it was called the Fat Man. Come on, they called it the Fat Man. How could you not enjoy that? That just. I have a hard time saying the name of that weapon without laughing. How could you not actually find some joy in that? I mean, yeah, it's not the most politically correct thing, but it's funny. And with that, it just makes me feel like this. Before I get into the problems Fallout 3 actually has, and it does have at least one huge problem, I gotta talk about one problem I have with the fan base, or people that hate Fallout 3, however you take that. And it's people saying that Fallout 3 is the world's greatest first person shooter. I know I'm using mostly action scenes for my review, but that's for video purposes. Fallout 3 is a really good video game. There's lots of action in it, for sure. I'm not denying that. There's lots of violence, which it has in common with a lot of first person shooters. But Fallout 3 is not a first person shooter, and anyone who says, yes, Fallout 3 is a huge first person shooter is someone that either doesn't know what a first person shooter is and RPG is and able to make that distinction, or someone that's obviously trolling. So, yeah, I'm going to clarify exactly what a first person shooter is and what an RPG is. In a first person shooter, you generally don't have a hell of a lot of control over the story. That's fine. There's nothing I have against that. But in Fallout 3, you get a lot of control over the story. You get to take part in conversations, choose what your character is going to say, and really style it after yourself. Fallout 3 is pretty much an RPG more or less only for this reason, as well as the fact that you're not limited to just two weapons. But generally speaking, is that it suits you into the role of your character within the video game. That's not what a first person shooter generally does. The closest that a first person shooter has come to like an RPG, and I have to say, is probably BioShock, which is the reason why these two games are really compared similarly. But unfortunately, BioShock doesn't allow you to really control your character as in what you're going to say. It gives you choices in what you're going to do, but it's I know that's a fine line in a gray area, but the difference is that you also get the ability to choose what your character is going to wear. You get to choose the ability of what your character is going to look like. You don't get those choices in BioShock or any other first-person shooter. When you play Fallout 3, the first thing you recognize is that it's your character. You get to choose everything, and you get to put yourself into the role, or you get to essentially be whoever you want to be. That is why Fallout 3 is a first-person shooter. So when people tell me that it's some Call of Duty clone or anything else like that, it just makes me cringe. I am not a big RPG person per se. I'm actually a big first-person shooter gamer, but this has got to be one of my favorite RPG games I've ever played. I had exactly two problems with this game, one being this particular puzzle in a mission called the Velvet Curtain. It has to do with you pushing a certain amount of pots in a certain number of direction, well, a certain number of times in certain ones. I felt that this one was particularly unpolished, but the DLC for this game overall is really good, with the following exceptions. The exception being Mothership Zeta. That was horrible crap, no role-playing whatsoever. That was just turning Fallout 3 into a first-person shooter. And mission, or the Anchorage DLC, I didn't like that too much. That one, again, just tried to turn Fallout 3 into a first-person shooter. Those were horrible. One other thing that's a major, major, major problem with this game is all the bugs. If someone said that they quit this game because of all the bugs, I'd understand. Because I've had crashes, I've had system freezes, and on top of that, I've had characters disappear. So that, unfortunately, is a very valid complaint. If someone said, oh, I quit the game because it was very buggy, I just have to kind of raise my hands up and say, yeah, you're right. But overall, it's a very, very good game. One complaint that people bring up is the fact that Fallout 3 might not be considered consistent with its Fallout lore, but I don't know exactly how valid that complaint is, because I haven't played the previous Fallout game. Since I haven't played that, I'm not going to judge that, and I do think it might be valid only for the reason being that Fallout 3 was made by Bethesda and not Interplay, to which made the original Fallout games. So that might be a valid complaint, it might not, but even if that's a valid complaint, don't let that dissuade you from essentially playing Fallout 3. It's one of the best games I've ever played. If I absolutely had to give Fallout 3 a rating, I would have to say it's a buy. It's one of the best games I've ever played. So yeah, just pick this game up, and you probably could get it really cheap, for the reason being that this is an old game. It's an old game, but it's a good game. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Fallout 3.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your old pal, Stinky Whistleteeth. This is a song about a whale. No! This is a song about being happy. That's right. It's the Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy song.
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy.
I don't think you're happy enough. That's right. I'll teach you to be happy. I'll teach your grandmother to suck eggs. Now, boys and girls, let's try it again.
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy.
If and you ain't the granddaddy of all liars, the little critters of nature, they don't know that they're ugly. That's very funny. A fly marrying a bumblebee. I told you I'd shoot, but you didn't believe me. Why didn't you believe me?
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, 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 joy, joy,